For as long as I've known Mary, music and faith were at the core of who she was. Whenever Mary sat at the piano, and before that at the organ, they used to sit right there where the drum set is, she let the keys sing the praises of a loving creator. The melodies that flowed from her fingers were more than just notes, they were prayers. Through her music, Mary invited us into a deeper connection with God and with each other. The Sundays that Mary played were, for me and for many others, moments of peace, joy, and reflection. I must say that when I started upstairs in the AV department about 8 years ago, I did my first live stream, and it was at a funeral. I'll tell you more about that if you want to know. I became more intrigued with Mary's piano playing because, thanks to the talent of the guys upstairs, we mastered the feat of capturing the piano playing and isolating it from all of the room noise. So if you were in the chapel, you heard a lot of noise, but if you were on the live stream, you only heard the music. And I appreciate those guys for their talent. The technology is obviously a big help. That was the beginning of what you may see on the Salvation Army YouTube channel as the Preliminary Piano Ministry. I took it upon myself to put together a playlist of Mary playing preliminary music in this chapel on Sundays. I believe that this particular ministry became a source of blessing for those who could not be present, especially during and since the COVID pandemic. And I should tell you that I often listen to the preliminary piano as part of my devotional in the mornings because the music is appropriate. On to another aspect of Mary's ministry contributions. Mary facilitated one of the many weeknight Bible studies offered through this congregation. And while I was never allowed to be a part of that ministry, it was a women's Bible study, I did get to see Mary in action when she taught the Bereans Sunday school class, which my wife and I generally teach. As a BTW, I should have mentioned that I've been privileged to fill this pulpit for many years when the Corps officers were away. So you could guess that when the Corps officers were away, they never got to hear me preach. The BTW is that our retired Corps Sergeant Major Mark Berg would be in charge of those Sundays and would frequently commence our Sunday proceedings by announcing to those in attendance that the pastors were away, and in his jovial style, he would propose that we change the name of the church. It's quite funny. I recall that the very first time I got to preach, I was told to collaborate with Mary to get the music lined up for the Sunday worship. You can probably tell that on those particular Sundays, we were without this great band and our music forces. Mary was always willing to work with whatever I proposed by way of music, but she was also a good listener. And I recall like it was yesterday, at the end of my first sermon, she said, "I guess professors are accustomed to speaking for 50 minutes at a time." That was when I saw her humorous side, not letting it go unnoticed that my sermon was a bit longer than most, but I got the message. I learned to shorten my sermons, even though many might not have noticed. But get back to the topic of Mary. Mary brought the same care and compassion to her role as a Sunday school teacher as she did to her roles as pianist and organist. She was always well prepared, and those present were assured to be blessed. I should say that I've added some of her teaching sessions to that music playlist if you ever happen to look at it. Thereby you will confirm that all I've said is true. The last time I stood here at a funeral, I said that a lot of stuff gets said at funerals that's not true. And I hope that what I'm saying is true. But what I admire most about Mary was the quiet consistency with which she lived out her faith. It was never about seeking recognition or praise. It was about serving, building up the community, and sharing God's love. I might also mention that Mary was a significant contributor to the kitchen ministry, making herself available when volunteers were needed, and you heard some of that being mentioned for the pasty production. Though we will miss the presence of our friend, musician, and Bible teacher, let us memorialize Mary's legacy in our hearts and lives. Dear Mary, on behalf of the Royal Oak Citadel, thank you for the gift of your life and for showing us what it means to serve with grace. We know you are at peace and making melodies in the presence of the Lord.